You
Like,
know,
so what happened now when you got
it
back?
was like, I got back from Morocco and I was just like, yeah, like, it's not okay. My life, like I'm not sick, I'm not, but it's not okay. Like what's happening with me in here and the way I'm living. And I mean, and it wasn't in a like ungrateful type way because I'm grateful. You know what I mean? Like I've been working at the same place for 25 years. I have my daughter, we have a great relationship, an awesome relationship now because I've done a lot of like self work, my family, it was just like something, yeah, it's not okay. So I was just like, you know what do I do? And then I just kind of stalled for the last like 5 months since I've been back. And I felt, well, let me back up a little bit because I know I was doing what a lot of people do, when they sleepwalk through life and, you just get up and you do your thing. And, and I talk a lot about narratives in my, my group and my family when I hear people say stuff and I'm like, yeah, I said, that's a narrative that you've been fed by society. I'm like, you can change that. Do you want to change it? What do you want to do? What do you really want to do? And I had been even this morning. So, and this morning I even like was thinking about that, but I had that whole narrative about, I went to college, graduated, and ended up having my daughter. I got pregnant, had my daughter, and the whole thing was like, okay, you're a single mom, and thinking I'm rejecting that whole narrative, but embracing the struggle piece of it. Everything has to be hard. It can't just be easy. You can't just, okay, yes, you have a child and, and I'm committed once I have, and that's how I am with everything. That was my daughter. And my mother said, only thing I'm going to say to you is be prepared to do it by yourself. When she said that, I was like, yep. Okay.
Wow.
And so, yeah, she was upset. But after she talked to my grandmother was like, I think she's doing the right thing. She's going to have the baby and she's going on. And so it was just like, have my daughter. I got a job, not within my degree, not with, but I got a job at an insurance company and I started working with people who didn't have degrees, but, I had come to find out, at the time I was making like $12,000 a year. And I started in the mailroom. So that whole story started in the mailroom. I got into a processing class. Those guys, they're making like 19,000, 20,000 a year, and I'm making 12. And I question it, and it's like, oh, now we're all, and I'm the top person. I was the top in the class, and they were like, okay, it's because you don't have, oh, they have degrees. I'm like, yeah, I have a degree. Oh, okay. So, but like I'm like, okay. So all of that, just but because I'm a single mother, that was I didn't even realize that I had fallen into that whole narrative of the struggle. And so I'm gonna like fast forward up until like 2 years ago. My brother, my younger brother, he had a daughter. So he has an older daughter, and then he had a baby. So my daughter is the oldest, and my sister has a son, and then my younger brother has a daughter, and then so they're all older, teenagers and up, and his girlfriend has a baby. And when I tell you that baby just like, she just like unified our family, brought life into the family. It was just like, and I'm like, okay, I get to be an auntie. I get to like really, because I'm passionate. I love my nephew. I love my niece. I'm like, auntie, mommy. And she just kind of unified our family. My parents are divorced, but they were getting along. But, we got text threads with her pictures and everything. And then 7 months later, she dies. There was an accident. She died.
Oh my God.
And so that, I think when I look at my life, I think I was just kind of doing what I thought, just trying different things, just trying to you know how people talk about surviving. You're just doing what you think you should do.
Right.
You know, my whole life, I went to school, went to college. I did what everybody wanted me to do. I always try to be good, you know. And so when that, and at the time I'm in church and, you know, I'm on the missionary board. I'm on this, doing that. I mean, my life is hectic. My daughter had gone to college. I had gone back, got another degree. And our lives was just like, you know, just back to back, back to back. And it has slowed down. That happened. And I was just like, wait a minute. That's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. And here it is. I'm like in the church, you know, like the church doors are open. I'm there. And I'm sorting around my life around, you know, my life was built around the church by that time. And so when she died, I was like, all right, you know, I had this thing, people laugh at me because I was like, all right, God, I'm not talking to you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm not talking to you. I was just like, yeah, I don't have nothing to say to you. We're not talking. And that lasted a couple months, you know, because I would catch myself praying and I was like, wait, I'm not talking to you. And I really would stop myself and be like, wait, we don't talk. What am I doing? And so and then finally one day I'm just thinking, you know, this was like, cause she passed in August and maybe September, October, around that time, October, November time frame. I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, cause you know, it was a rough time, but it drew my family together. Anything that wasn't, you know, any rifts that were there, they just disappeared. And that was like 2 years ago. And we're still close. We're still tight. But so it made something that was okay. You know, we got good. You know, my brother we all still struggle with it, but you know, but a couple months out, I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, all right, it's early in the morning. I'm in the bathroom, just like, and I started praying and I said, okay, fine. I guess I belong to you. I guess I belong to you. So what do I do? What do I do? And that was like the beginning of me just saying, okay, who am I? What do I do? What do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do with my life? You know, because I'm heavily influenced. My mother sheltered us, especially me, because I'm the oldest, and people pleaser, all that stuff. That was, you know, that was me. And, you know, I'm in the process, but that was who I was. And I said, so what do I want to do? And I was like, okay, what do you want? I want to get married. I want to do this stuff. Okay. So I started going through different things. You know, we're going out. I won a raffle that I didn't enter, won a date, met this guy, kind of fell for him. He decided he wasn't ready. So I got my little feelings hurt, but it was okay. I was like, all right, you know, I mean, I see.
I don't mean to cut you off. Let me ask you something. So,
sure.
All these things are happening in what time frame?
All this stuff happened within the last 2 years.
Wow.
So she passed. I started going out, you know, going to different things, just trying to get back, just trying to get the church tradition off of me. I didn't even know that's what I was doing, but it was just kind of like, you know, I had people constantly, as a single women, we constantly had people telling us, you're supposed to be here. You're not married. When the church is open, you're supposed to be open praying, you know, and you're supposed to serve the Lord, waiting on your Boaz. Like, I mean, legitimately, what was told to me was, Cindy, while you're not married, you should be really seeking the Lord, serving and waiting on your Boaz. So I was like, well, you do know, that I have a family. You do know that I have obligations. You do know that I work full time. So, you know, these are people who don't work full time. They, you know, they're full time in ministry full time. But it was like, they wanted me to come down, you know, and I'm like, well, I mean, I didn't want to say I have a life, but I have a life, you know, and so, you know, so I'm just like, so that happened, and you know, but I met this guy, and we start talking and stuff, and then like you know, we decided you know, he wasn't ready, and honestly, now that I look back, I know I wasn't ready, because I just, you know, my skirts, they still down to here, and you know, small little earrings and everything, all, you know, and I'm all like, oh, and don't look, and so I was searching online, and I came across this gratitude challenge through a blog. And what I was searching for was how to get over a breakup or something like that. Because I was like, yeah, I'm not going, you know, I cried a little bit, but I was like, okay, it's time to get up. And I did a gratitude challenge. I met this awesome, I think she was from North Carolina. The gratitude challenge was awesome. I mean, totally shifted my mindset. And I had that shift from when my niece passed, but it was kind of like one of those things I was just kind of like, you know, what now? And so as part of that, that's when I got introduced to the young lady that was doing the trip to Morocco.
Okay.
And so I always wanted to go to Morocco. I don't know why. It was on my list.
Why?
It was just like, I think back when because I don't watch TV. That's another. People think I'm strange. In my circles, is just kind of like, you know, one of my coworkers. He had just met me, and he met me. That we had a group meeting. Then he, like the next day, he was like, you know, you're kind of like living some alternative lifestyle or something. He was like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, because I don't watch TV, you know. And it was like they were talking about something. I was like, oh yeah, I don't, because I'm a vegetarian too. So I was laughing at your video. So so I was laughing. It was so funny, but you know, so he was like, they were talking about different stuff, and they would ask me a question, I would answer. And so after a day or two, he's like, you live an alternative lifestyle. So I'm like, am I really that weird? Or is it? And I didn't ask him, but I think because, you know, people, they meet, I'm the only, you know, chocolate chip in the cookie. And so they meet you and they think, you know, hey girlfriend, you know, and there's that, you know, hey, but you're not my girlfriend. I'm not gonna, we at work. So when he said that, I was like, well, what was he expecting? You know, what was he expecting? So they, you know.
All right, we back with Cynthia.
Okay. Yep, Cynthia. Okay. So just to kind of put a timeline around it. I mean, way back, my daughter she's an adult. She's 25. So I had her, and that just kind of started, yeah, she's 25. And that kind of started the whole life thing, the life, just getting up, going to work, working hard. I mean, I used to work from 6 to 6. I had my child telling me she'll never see me, you know, trying to make up, because I raised her with the help of my family, but her father wasn't fully in the picture. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we're going through life, and then we all each have one child. I have, through my mother and my father, 3 siblings. We all had our children, you know, and life is just okay. And you get caught up in those little things. You end up not talking to people over little stupid stuff, but it's, you know, you think everybody's going to live forever. So you don't pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. And my brother, his girlfriend at the time had a baby. And Nala, that's her name. And Nala just kind of, I mean, we were just I don't know what, my daughter said that she was an incarnate angel, because she just brought this spirit with her that unified the family. Mm-hmm. We forgot about everything. And I never had time to have beef with anybody anyway. So, you know, having her, it was like, it just brought unity to our family in a very divine way. And I ended up spending a lot of time with her. And then she was born Christmas Eve. That was her birthday. Born Christmas Eve. She was preemie, but she passed away August 5th. And so when she passed, it was really devastating. But instead of us kind of, we really leaned on each other. That brought us any rifts that were still kind of there that we were working through. We forgot our feelings. And when I tell, and even in telling my story, I try not to tell other people's story because that's for them to do. My brother's a comedian, but to see, like, they raised $20,000 for him in like a day and a half. The church was packed out. It was a big, decent sized church, packed out for a little 7-month-old funeral. Wow. And supported him. So it's like, and that's his story. But to see that just to see the unity and the love with that, at a time where, I was in the church questioning my role, questioning this, because I didn't get any support from the ministry because it wasn't immediate family. So, because they have a protocol around funerals and deaths and stuff. And I laugh because it's dumb and it's not funny, but, they, just seeing that just juxtaposed, his life compared to my life and the devotion I had to the church, but then dealing with that and questioning God and just going through that whole thing where I was like, yeah, I'm not talking to you. And a couple of months later, then saying, okay, I guess I do belong to you. I don't know any other way. So help me to not just get through this, not to survive, because my whole thing is I never wanted to, even though I had embraced the struggle unconsciously, I got to the point after that happened, I was like, no, it's not enough just to like live. I want to thrive. I don't want to just survive anything. I want to grow through this. I want to grow. Anything that I do, I want it to, I want to thrive. I want to prosper. So when that happened, it kind of like shook us up, all of us. All of us. But I know for me, it woke me up in a way that I hadn't been awake before. And so I was like, what do I want to do? So then, I have 2 girlfriends that I kind of hang with. We call ourselves a squad. And we hang out together. And we were like, and one of the first thing I told my girlfriend, we have with my best friend, we've been friends like over 30 years. And I told her, I said, I'm releasing the struggle. Right. And that's the first way I said it. I said, I'm releasing the struggle. Now I say I'm embracing ease. That's how I say it to myself. But I told her, I said, I'm releasing the struggle. And she was like, okay. She didn't know what I was talking about. Cause like I said, everybody thinks I'm the weird one, And so, my niece passes a couple months later. We're going out and everything. We go to the singles event. There was a raffle there. They raffled off a date with the DJ. And I'm like, who does that? And I'm talking junk. I'm like, who does that? What? Can we see him? I don't even know what he looked like because he was behind a pole. And I was like, we can't even see what he looked like. And y'all said 30 and up. I was like, there's no cougars over here. How old is he? So I was just like running jokes. Well, I end up winning the raffle. I didn't enter it. I don't know how I won. So I won. So we, a couple of months later, we go out on this, because that by that time, we're talking about December. We go on this date, and something happens at the table. I don't know. We're just talking, vibing. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of nice. Then I realized I was hiding. Like I'm in the church. Everybody's talking about wait on your Boaz. But I mean, if a man look at you, he look at you too hard, you trying to run. And you don't spend time around men, so you don't even know the signals. I mean, my girlfriend had to say, the man was following you around the grocery store talking about Thanksgiving and how he's eating his turkey alone because he was flirting with you. And I was like, oh, really? Well, I thought I just thought he wanted advice on his turkey. So, and I'm a vegetarian, so hey, I can't help you. So it was stuff like that. Like where you know, so we go out, and I told, and so, and you know, and he and I, we're going on, I've known him almost 2 years. He still ain't ready, but that's okay, because he's over there. And, but he ultimately, we talked for a while, like 7 months. And I said, okay. You know, he said, okay, he's not ready. I'm like, okay, because, you know, hey, cool. But you know, it wasn't easy, but I lived. So I was looking on, you know, online, saying, okay, how can I get over this? Because I don't want it to like stop my life. And found the blog we did, and we had a gratitude. He had a gratitude challenge on there, and I was just kind of following along. I did the gratitude challenge. It was awesome. Then I'm signed up on her blog, and you know, she talks about this trip to Morocco, and I'm like, yeah, I really wanted to go, you know, that kind of stuff, but you know, going about my business. And I'm still kind of like finding my way in the church. And when it's funny, you know, when you think about ignoring signals and talk about ignoring signals and stuff, I had said it. I had given voice to it. I'm here out of obligation. I'd said that so many times. I was on so many ministries. Every time the church was open, I was there. I was on Sundays, from the time I got there to the time I left, everybody was gone. I had something to do. I had a task. I went there, I made coffee. And after the coffee, I would teach Sunday school. And I went from Sunday school to the stand because I was on the praise team. And then I was over, you know, when I was on duty, I would go from the praise team over to my post. I was the nurse on duty. And then once the service started, and my pastor was ministering, everybody was using me by that point. So I was the reader. So I'm reading during service. And it was kind of like one of those things where don't drink water, don't drink coffee, because you're not going to have a chance to go to the ladies' room. It was just that.
Where does that sensibility come from?
I think it comes from, well, some of it is just who I am, you know, by nature, just who I am. I want to be excellent and that type of thing. But then some of it is trying to please people, and some of it is wanting to be liked. So, you know, I wanted to be liked. I wanted everybody, oh, she's so good. She's so faithful. And then I was good until they started abusing it. Then I had a problem, you know, because because people will take advantage of it, because they know that if there's something that if my name is on it, that was the old me, because now I'll take my name off and y'all can just fall. But if my name is on it, I'm making sure that it doesn't fail. I'm like, I don't like to be embarrassed. And, you know, if there's work to be done, I'm a hands-on person. I believe I'm just going to get in there and do the work. And so we were, you know, life is still, you know, but by this time things are kind of slowing. I had, you know, did the gratitude challenge, and now I'm kind of like looking for stuff, but not really knowing what to look for. And so you know, I'm also in the process of losing weight. Now, by this time, I've lost a significant amount of weight, you know. Always been shapely, because my mom's thing was, pull your shirt down, you know, to cover up the bottom part, pull your shirt. So I guess I had this, as we're going through this thing, I'm releasing the struggle. I'm also not wearing these big old baggy clothes, because I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, you look like somebody, you look like somebody's great grandma. You know, the front, we call it the Apostolic Uniform. So, you know, I was wearing the Apostolic Uniform, the denim skirt, the t-shirt, and the sneakers, right? Because you might have to bend down and pick up something, and you can't have nothing exposed. So I was like, I looked and I said, well, that's okay. I have a desire to be married. And so the married women dress like that. That's okay. But Cindy not dressing like that no more, because I saw one of my girlfriends that she can dresses beautifully. One day she wore the Apostolic Uniform to Bible class, and I was like, is she sick? I went, she looked like she gonna clean somebody. And that it was like a dialogue in my head. It was like, well, how does she look? It looked like she's gonna clean somebody's house, or she's gonna clean her house. Oh, that's how you look. That was the last time I wore it. And she doesn't even know, I don't even think she knows she helped me. That was the last time I wore it. And so I'm losing weight, and I started, dressing in the appropriate size, size clothes, not baggy or whatever. Start looking like a woman, I guess. And so now I'm getting attention and the thing is, I'm oblivious to all these things. So I'm just like I'm just living my life. I'm oblivious to this stuff. But all of a sudden I notice I'm getting some attention, negative attention from leadership.
Oh.
I don't know who's going to see this video. Woo! I don't care, but I'll be kind of discreet. So, but it's like one of those situations where, Sister Cindy, why is that in your hair? What's with the color? Sister Cindy, blah, 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 blah. Sister Cindy. And I'm like, Sister Cindy is still doing everything she's been doing. Because, and one of the things that happened, I had, when my niece passed away, certain things, that changed me. So there were certain things that you just couldn't say to me anymore. You couldn't do those things to me anymore. I just didn't have time for it. So I'd already been, I was on the missionary board, and she got upset because I sent out a text asking a question. So because I refused to discuss it with her and let her abuse me, that's the only way I can describe it. She was like, all right, you're on a leave. So, I talked to my pastor, and he was like, do you need a break? I said, oh, yeah, because I needed a break from that, because we have been dealing with that form of leadership for a while. And I said, yeah, I need a break. So I had already been released from the missionary board, put on a leave. And so I found myself in a situation at, November of 2017, where we had a conflict. I had a conflict with my first lady. It was verbal, it wasn't nothing like that. And it wasn't even, there were 3 other people present, and it wasn't even something that in the normal course of life, they'll have a disagreement, they'll have a discussion, you'll apologize, you move on. But that's not how it happened this time. So that happened in November. Come December, I was stripped of my ministry responsibilities. Also at the same time, December, and then all this at the same time, I found out about this trip to Morocco. So in November, we had our disagreement. This trip comes up, and I'm like, you know what? I had the money. I always wanted to go to Morocco. I was nervous. I had a passport. I had gotten my passport in the last 2 years. I was like, there's nothing keeping me from going. I'm going to go. So there were like spots were there at the time. I think there were like 3 spots left. I signed up, got one of the spots, didn't know anybody, had never met the lady doing the trip before in person. So I had signed up, we had our disagreement. I signed up for this trip because I'm in this weird space. It's like my work life is okay. But my church, like, this is not right. Something's not right. So then we had to think, because every time I turn around, this same person has something to say. Now we have a disagreement, and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. It drops on December 31st without anybody having this discussion with me, without anyone asking me what happened, without anyone finding out that she instigated, a situation that didn't have to go that way. She instigated it, I was stripped of my ministry responsibility. She sent me a letter. So now we're talking about 10 years. I had been in the ministry 10 years of just flat out devotion. You You couldn't tell me anything about, you couldn't talk to me about, I was feeling discontent with a lot of what's going on. It was their obligation. But now that was like, what, you're going to take this stuff you're going to take this from me? That was kind of my thing. Like, cause you're trying to hurt me. You did that to hurt me, cause we could have taught kumbaya. I'm sorry. You sorry. Hey.
So you have the universe putting all these things in your path.
Mm-hmm.
You're being oblivious to.
Right.
But these things are trying to tell you that what you've been doing is no longer serving you.
Right. Right.
And at the time, it felt like somebody was snatching the rug out from you.
Exactly. That's exactly what it felt like.
Instead of it being a gift.
Yep. That's exactly it. When I tell you December 31st, it's like a day I can remember, because I went to church. It was normal like it was. I served, we sang, we did everything, and I got the letter at the end of service. Ooh. And so after I paid my tithe and gave an offering, and it wasn't the envelope was thick. So my first thought after, my initial thought was like, well, wait a minute, y'all could have told me in the morning, because I would have kept my time. And so even my having that thought meant that I was far from mentally, I just wasn't in it. And so that kind of sent me in like a tailspin, like low key. Like it was kind of like, okay, well, what? And we had service that evening because that was New Year's Eve, and I went and I just sat there, and I'm like, okay, because I didn't know what to do. 10 years of doing that, I didn't know what to do. And I can remember saying to them, one of the deacons and one of my friends, my best friend, she read the letter and she just looked at me. And I can remember I was kind of choked up and I was tearing, and I said, well, what do I do now? Like, don't they know that this is what anchored me to the ministry? When I didn't feel like going, it didn't matter because I had an obligation. Most of the time I was on duty, there was a reason why I had to be there. And I was like, don't they know? And so, January felt like 6 months. I had my birthday came, and I just remember feeling overwhelmed because I was working, they brought me back into the office for 2 days. So I was working from home full time. So my first day back in the office, my birthday, I got the letter, my birthday is on the 9th. That's the first day back in the office.
Your birthday is January?
Yeah, it's on the 9th of January.
That's my mom and my uncle. Wow, that's amazing. I was supposed to meet you.
Oh, wow. Oh, see, I believe in divine connections, because all of this stuff was like, now I look for the connections. Before I was just like, yeah, I'm here. Like I was oblivious. And so I'm going through this thing, but I know I have my trip coming up in April. And, I'm scared, nervous. And after a while, something just settles and I'm ready. And I can remember this, but I'm still going to church. I took 2 Sundays off, and I didn't know, but what do I do with my Sundays? So I'm still going to church, still trying to get my heart right and keep my heart right. I'm still seeing, this person, but still trying to get it right. And so I get it right. I'm able to go and just, able to go. And so I go, and I remember that Sunday before my trip, my friend says, my best friend, she says, wait, I'm going to come sit next to you this Sunday. And I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, because you're getting ready to go to Morocco, and I want to sit next to you before you come back different. And I said, what? She was like, yeah. And she just said it. And I still owe her an offering, because I told her she was working at her, her prophetic gift that Sunday. And so I told her, I was like, what? Oh, okay. So we had, we went to service. Everything was, regular. I go to Morocco and I meet, you know, first of all, I had to travel. That's my first international trip.
Wow.
I didn't really tell a lot of people about it because I didn't want anyone putting their fear, speaking fear, putting their fear on it, questioning me about it, because I had made my decision and I had already taught myself, okay, Cindy, you spent X amount of dollars for this trip. I bought, you bought my plane ticket. And I was like, all right, now you can still not go, but I spent all that money. I was like, all right, now I know how I am. Once I commit dollars to it, I gotta if I'm dragging bloody, I'm going. So I was just like, okay, that was my bottom line. And once I committed that way financially, that usually a financial commitment would get me to push through.
Right.
And I was good. I wasn't nervous or anything. And but I'm traveling by myself and I'm on Instagram and I'm like taking pictures at every airport. And the other thing my girlfriend said, she said, you know what, take a picture before and then take pictures after, and I was just like, what? All right, girl, And I get there, and when it was just like, I went to Morocco in April, and my life is still like, I'm still trying to figure out what happened. When I got back, I was like, okay, what happened? Because I can't, I need to I have to continue to tap into that. Like, I need to tap into that because it was something shifted. Like, I met these amazing women, dope, amazing sisters. Like, and I was the oldest, we were talking, the youngest one was like 25, same age as my daughter. And, amazing, dope women. I never met them before, didn't know them. And we just connected. And one of the sisters, the one that you remind me of, her luggage didn't come until like the day before we were supposed to leave. Her luggage got lost.
Ooh.
Right? And when I tell you, like, this is how magical Morocco is. So me, hey, I don't have no problem wearing the same stuff. I don't care. Cause I mean, that's how I am. But this sister, she's like, she's into her fashion, she does interior design, into designing, into fashion, knows what goes with what, like me, I think all black black goes with everything. My daughter laughs about that because I was like, black goes with everything. She's like, mommy, it really doesn't. But but when I tell you that, you would have known that she didn't have her stuff. Just, that's how dope that's how Morocco's magical. And that's just like how dope these people are. Cause she was like, well, I can't change it. When I met her, the sister had on a towel, right? She had a towel. she had freshened up, and she had on this shirt, and she had a towel around her waist. And the way she had the towel on, I was like, well, that's a dope skirt, She was like, she comes down, hey, hey, Chrissy, and we're talking and stuff. And she was like, yeah, my luggage didn't get here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? She was like, yeah, but you know what? I figured, I'm going to, hopefully it'll turn up. But at this point, now, mind you, she got there the same day, a couple hours before I did. But she was like, you know what? I figure at this point, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to stress about it. And I'm like, all right, that's dope. Thankful I got my luggage though, but hey, I'm like, well, where'd you get the skirt? She was like, oh girl, it's the towel. But you never would have known. You didn't know. It wasn't until she got her luggage and that next morning we see her dressed up and I'm like, whoa, okay. It was just the vibe, the women like I met. I had to go to Morocco to meet my tribe. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't matter how old.
Why do you think that?
You know what? I think because on my, on my end of it, I think I spent so much time playing it safe, never like really stretching.
Mm-hmm.
And, because you know, in, in my world, I was used to being the, people think, like I said, they're weird, they're different or whatever. Oh, that's just Cindy or whatever. And, but it's okay to occupy, and I occupied that space. I occupied that space. Just kind of feeling like I didn't fit in, but it was okay. I got comfortable with it, but not reaching out to find out, to see if there were like-minded people. Like when I got there, they were like-minded women who, they were just, and we talked about everything. We talked about everything. Like they were talking, yeah, I mean, they were talking about oral sex and stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, really? Like, are y'all serious? And I'm saying, oh, I'm the oldest one there. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, I ain't never met nobody that I want to do all that to. They was like, yes, Cindy, I'm like, so, but we talked about everything, and no beef. And not that we agreed about everything. We disagreed about some stuff, but it was okay, So all that,
Would those conversations, would that synchronicity have happened if you guys were here in the States?
You know what? I thought, I thought about that. And I think being in our society, I think it hinders us. It hinders, I think it hinders people of color. But as a Black woman, I can only speak, to my experience. In Morocco, there, nobody knew us. We didn't know each other. But the thing was, we didn't have that, when we went out, there were no expectations about who we would be. Yes. Or who we were supposed to be.
Yes.
We could just be ourselves. We just came, and so if I say I'm Cindy, I'm an astronaut. Oh, okay, astronaut. Hey, astronaut. Listen, if I said I was a dancer, oh, Cindy dancer. Like, there was no, you're a person. You're a woman. And nobody has any expectations about who you're supposed to be because you're a Black woman. I mean, there was some, I had some people that were like, Rasta, Rasta, they're looking at the locks and stuff, hey, Rasta. And, one guy singing some Bob Marley song, and I'm like, okay, but.
That's a big thing there with the teenagers.
Yep. Yeah.
Hip hop and reggae are huge.
Yep.
So everywhere I went, it was the teenagers because they idolized Bob Marley.
Yep.
All over Africa. Zimbabwe,
yep. Yeah.
Because he
yep. Yep. See.
Before he died.
And they were like, but
it's a big deal. They love.
Well, I mean, it was, and that it was, and the thing was too was even getting that type of because we're women, and there were times where you would get attention. It wasn't like nothing negative because we actually felt safer there. That's one of the things we talked about, how you feel safer there than you do in some parts of where you live. Like,
why did you feel safer in Morocco than in the U.S.?
Well, because the culture. I mean, I think the culture there, it definitely is a respect for women. And now it's a Muslim country, we know that and all that kind of stuff. And I don't have any opinions about that. We also carried ourselves in a certain way too. We had our heads covered. We didn't look like, I guess, typical Americans, the stereotypical American or whatever. But I think that there's just a respect for people. You know what I'm saying there? That you don't necessarily see in the States. And when I say respect for people, like, we went to we were in the souks, and we went to a stall to because we were out shopping late, and that was, you know, and you could shop midnight, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And nobody's looking at you strange. Like you could walk around. We saw women walking around, walking around by themselves through the, you know, in the Medina and stuff. And they don't turn around and look to see who's behind them because they're not worried. They don't care. They're not afraid.
Yep.
There's no fear there. And so that you feel, so you, once you get there, you kind of, you adapt to that. But one of the guys that we were walking around, and we went into his shop, and one of my friends, she said, well, they're my friends now, because we all kept in touch since April. We keep in touch and everything. But she went to the shop, and she struck up a conversation with him, Hassan. And she says, okay, well, hold on. Let me go get my friends, and we'll buy from you. And he was like, no. He said, don't do that. And she was like, why not? He said, because they're over at my friend's stall. He said, that's my friend. And if you're going to buy from him, let them buy from him. I don't want to take business from him.
Wow.
Right. And so we're like, you know, so she says, okay, you know, and she's in there shopping, you know, and I'm off someplace looking, you know, getting some beads or something. And they come. So we all end up in his shop anyway. We all just kind of end up wandering over there. And I mean, some amazing, crazy things happened in Morocco. We ended up crying in the middle of the souks, like, oh my God, I love you.
Why?
Well, we're in his shop, and he's just talking, and he, you know, it was his shop. His father started it, and, you know, he works there, and he was telling us about the history. He was explaining he's an herbalist. He was explaining all the different herbs, showing us the different perfumes, what they do. And we were just sitting there. And I mean, it had to be about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And we're all just sitting there while he's talking, because he was getting ready to close up when my friend wandered over. And we ended up buying stuff from him. And we took pictures with him. We have his cards and everything. It's like my friend she's in Morocco now. She got there like a couple of days ago. She kept in touch with him. And so we all have his card and stuff, but we were talking to him, and he was like, he gave us these, you know, me, apostolic, you know, don't touch nothing, you know, he gave us these herbs, and he explained what you do with them. And he was like, well, you burn them, you know, take a shower, burn them, do that for 3 days. And then after the third day, you go to sleep, you ask God, what does he want you to do? So I was the first one. I was like, I'll take some of that. And so we, you know, I forgot my teacher, but anyway, I was like, I'll take some of that. And so we all purchased stuff from him, but it was just like, we connected with him too, like just talking to him. And we took a picture. One of my friends had a Polaroid with the Instamatic. And so we took a picture, and we left it, you know, we gave that to him, and we took a picture, you know, we have pictures of him with him and stuff, but they had left, they walked out, and we were, you know, still kind of talking to him. And so I step out, and I walk up on them, and they're just standing there looking at each other like, and I was like, don't you do it. I was like, what's going on? And she was like, it's Kia's fault. I was like, wait, what's going on? She said, well, Kia started it. Kia was like, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to cry. I was like, wait, don't y'all do that, because nobody cries alone around me. I was like, and so my friend Simone, she was just like, okay. But it was just like, you know, we just started laughing, and we're hugging each other. And so our other friend comes up, and she was like, okay, what's going on here? You know, and so we're just laughing and talking about how, you know, just this, it's like a feeling came over us, and we're just like hugging and laughing. And he comes out, because he thought we left. So Hassan comes out, and he was like, oh my goodness, you guys are still, he was like, you're here. And, you know, it hadn't been that long, but he was like, you're here. And he starts laughing, and he hugs us. We're all hugging, and he hugs us. And, you know, now this guy, you know, so we're, you know, it's a Muslim country, and, you know, he's hugging these girls in the hallway. So now, you know, not in the hallway, in the alley. of the souks and stuff. And the guy, so now this guy's like, hey, Hassan, you know. But Hassan was like, and I said, he was like, what's going on? And we were like, oh my goodness. And so we're all kind of like teary and stuff. And he was like, oh my goodness. He was like, that's a good thing. He said, that's God. He was like, that's God. It's a good thing. And so, you know, we get, you know, all of us didn't go. It's like 4 of us. And so the, you know, other ladies are still there. You know, when we get back to the Riyadh, the other ladies are there. We're just like, still like in that whole, you know, mood, and we're all talking, sharing our stories and stuff. We couldn't even talk about it. And I like, even sharing it now is not even doing justice to what was. Morocco was just magic. Just like, even, you know, we went ATV.
What think Hassan gave you?
Hassan, what that moment when Hassan, when he did that, he showed me that God, you know how we oh, God is everywhere. God is everywhere. God is everywhere. That's what, when that happened, that's when I was like, yeah, God is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And that he's bigger, you know, for me, because I am still a Christian, but I said, but it was bigger than all the activities I was in, going to church every Sunday. It closed, because I had a disconnect there, that I had reconnected after my niece passed, and I just told God, I said, I ain't talking to you no more. And then I was like, okay. You know, it had started that connection to where I realized, all right, I belong to him. And so I'm going to listen. But when I saw that he really is everywhere, and that there's a divine, and that's when I really, because I had started divine connections then. But when that happened, I was like, okay, God is everywhere. And I'm paying attention now. Like, that made me pay attention. So when I came back from Morocco, I was like, all right, God, what you want me to do? That was my attitude. Like, when I came back, I was like, all right, I know. I started looking for it. I was like, I know something's going to happen. I know you want me to be someplace. There's people that you want me to talk to. There's people that you want me to connect with, that you have work for me to do. You have and we all know we have a purpose, but I think we just give up on ever finding it, because it seems like it's so hard, but it's because we're so out of alignment. You know, our day-to-day takes us out of alignment. Yes, I have responsibilities, I have obligations, and I had even gotten to the point where I started speaking, you know, certain things into existence. Like, I had to transition off a project, and I was like looking for a job. And finally I was like, this is too hard. I'm not doing this. I was like, all right, my next job needs to come to me. Yeah, it just needs to come to me. And like a week later, I had my manager and my mentor say, did you see this job? I think you'll be a perfect fit. Talk to the manager. And that's how I got my next job. You know, it's still within the same company, but stuff like that was happening, but not within any awareness on my part. I was just kind of like, I'm tired. I'm not doing it. I don't want to do that. You know, and so there was no intention. I wasn't being intentional, and there was no intention to it.
So you had to go to a completely Muslim country.
My God.
And meet a Muslim man. To tell you that God is everywhere. And when
he said that's God,
you were doing the ritual that the Black woman's supposed to do to prove to yourself that you were worthy of God. But a Muslim man in a Muslim country had to tell you that you were enough just as you were.
Yeah. It was just like, he was like, that's God. I'm like, what? You know, and when he said it, it wasn't even like I knew. It wasn't like I had to go home, you know, I didn't have to go back to the Riyadh and like ponder, what did he mean? You know, because before he left, he was like, you know what? He's like, you have a good mind. I was like, thank you. But I was like, okay, like, you know, but when he said that, I was like, okay. But when he came out and he said that, I was like, wow, you know, like God, he's everywhere, you know, and that's when I started seeing the divine connections. That's when I realized that, you know, because it wasn't, and then because even the simple things, I came back from Morocco, and I came back and I was like, I give myself permission to rest. This is for at least, I can't even say the last 10 years, because that was the story of my life. When I told my friend, you know, my girlfriend, I'm releasing the struggle, it was from the time I got up to the time I went to bed. You know, I was on the clock. I had some place I needed to be, and I needed to leave at a certain time to get there by a certain time, or I was going to, and I hate being late. And so it was like little thing. But even when I didn't have that, the pressure was there. You know, I came back from Morocco, ministry responsibilities gone, but I left caring and came back realizing that I had been liberated. I had been freed, because had I come back with all those responsibilities, and this is just in the, you know, in the tangible, simple sense, as soon as I got back, I would have had to go right back to it, because we had church anniversary going on, and I would have been on the schedule. I would have had to find somebody to cover for me if I couldn't have been there. And when I got back, I was like, oh, I didn't have to worry about all that kind of stuff, because she had done for me what I had desired. I had gotten to the point where I was like, you know what, I need to release some of this stuff, but there was nobody really there to kind of take it. So I was just kind of like, okay, it'd be wrong for me to burden my sisters with it, or my brother, you know. So I was holding on to it. But when she took it, she did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And I didn't feel any, you know, I didn't feel bad. I was like, okay, she took it, it's fine. And I got back and I didn't go to church for a couple of weeks, because I told my friends, I was like, it's still new. You know, I didn't want anything to interfere with what I had gained when I went over there. And I was still processing, because it was just kind of like, just so different from my everyday. And so I had to process, and it was like, I mean, there were times I was just like, we're doing stuff, and they were like, Cindy, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah. They were like, Cindy just is like easy go. And I was like, you know what? I'm just happy to be here. That was like my tagline. I'm just happy to be here, you know? And it wasn't
let me ask.
Yep.
What's the plan moving forward now that you've had this long?
So, you know, so it's like, that's where, so there's been a lot of, it's been like 5, 6, 7 months now. There's been like a shedding of things that don't serve me, relationships that don't serve me, healing. So, you know, because my whole thing was making sure that that I'm healthy. And as I started really working on myself, I was like, yeah, that doesn't make me feel good, and I don't like that. So it's been a lot of shedding, and you know, within the last month or so, I'm kind of like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And so I described it, because I felt guilty for a long time, because I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't do anything. When I tell you that my work is slow, you know, and I'm putting this out there. Hey, I didn't say where I work, but things slowed down a lot. And I went to and I'm just like, okay, do they know? So I didn't run and say, okay, give me this, give me that. And then when I did say something, he was like, oh, okay. My plan from here, you know, now that I know better who I am and what I want, you know, my plan is to start my own business. I'm working on my own thing, because ultimately, when, you know, I've been at, you know, my current employer for 25 years, and you know how they talk about job is just over broke. As I'm embracing ease in all areas of my life. So it's like, you know, even with, you know, so I'm spiritually I'm finding my place. I detached from the matrix. I can't go back. I just know that. So I've been to visit, but so spiritually, I'm still, I don't know, finding my place, but work, my work, I desire to do my own thing. And one of the things that we talked about when we were in Morocco was buying property and being able to go there and to live there. I see a lot of people who, they buy property and they use it as, like Airbnb. But I know my thing is I want to be able, like, have my thing set up to where if I decide I want to go to Morocco, I'm, locking up stuff here and I'm gone. Ultimately, that's what I want to do. Morocco, I want to visit South Africa, but all these whatever it is I want to do, I want to be able to do it. That's the type of freedom that I am aspiring to. That's what I'm working for. And I can't even say working for, because it's kind of like I want to ease into it. I've spent all these years doing the hard stuff. If it was some things I picked up on purpose because it was hard, because I thought that's what life was. It was supposed to be hard. You're Black, you're a single mother, blah, blah, blah. You got that hard, that good times mentality. And I just was like, let it go. And so now just, I'm kind of doing what I want to do. People laugh because they ask me something. I'm like, I do what I want to do. And they're like, yeah, I do what I want to do. And yeah, I do what I want to do. Yep. Right. And I don't apologize. And, they look at me and I was like, you know what? I'm a good person. I'm not trying to hurt nobody. I'm a good person. I've done what I'm supposed to do. My foundation is sure. So I'm going to do what I want to do. And they're like, okay, and the funny thing is I think people like me more. They like you more because you're just real, and you can be real. You don't have to worry about who you're going to offend and all that kind of, it's just, you let go of that crazy, so that's my thing. Just doing what I want to do.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to email you and I want to talk to you again.